are things that I use on every single costume. My handy dandy utility blade. It is perfect for everything. It really is. And I get the one where you can buy the refillable blades because I go through them a lot whenever I'm carving foam, which I actually didn't do for this costume, but it's still nice to be able to have the same utility blade and just replace it because I've grown really attached to it. The other is a heat gun. Like, if you guys do not have a heat gun, you need to invest in one. They're really cheap, actually. Well, they can be really cheap. They can also be really expensive, but this one's really cheap and it has done a magnificent job. Before I had a heat gun, it was like a couple years, I think, into my cosplaying adventure, I used a stovetop, which you guys can do, but it's a lot less control and a lot more burning of your hands. And I've also tried to use just a regular hair dryer, and that just does not work. You can try it, and it does not work. Not as good as a heat gun. A couple other things that I have almost always on hand is industrial Velcro. Always, always, always have industrial Velcro, especially when you're at a convention and you need an easy fix because you're falling apart or something. Industrial Velcro does wonders. I use hot glue a lot for, especially when I'm making armor. I do it for the craft foam before I put Warbler over it, or sometimes I leave the Warbler out. And what else do I use a lot of? E6000. Get it. E6000 is the best glue I've ever used. I use it for almost everything except for when I'm using hot glue. Other things that I really like to have on hand is measuring tape, because you never ever know when you're gonna have to measure something, and you also don't want things to look asymmetrical or lopsided. Depending on your costume too, if you're creating like a little kit, which is what I do, it's like my go-to kit for whenever I'm working on whatever current costume it is. I'll fill it with whatever I think I'll need. For this one, I had different kinds of paints for when I was weathering the armor, which this is probably not even what I ended up using. In fact, it's not. I've painted the armor and this is not what I used, but I mean, it's in here for just in case. Painter's tape is really good, and also if you guys do not use these, I love them so much because they're really cheap, and it's okay if they get disgusting because they were really cheap and you can just toss them. But I always get like a bulk pack per costume for whatever. If it's weathering, if it's putting on Mod Podge, it just really comes in handy. Other things that are kind of more obvious, I would always have scissors on hand, always have a Sharpie, a pencil, a pen. I don't know, this seems really basic, and it's almost like you're going to school. You just take what you think you may need, even though you might not use it.